Hey, it's Sean from the Commander's Brew. You're about to watch the Lost Cards all about Felisa Fang of Silverquill. If you haven't seen our deck tech, which is a Vampire's Tribal deck, check that out also. But this is the show where we talk about different angles we didn't get to brew around. There's a lot of fun stuff we're doing, so check it out.
All right, here it is. Lost Cards, Felisa Fang of Silverquill. We went down one route with this deck. We took a look at Vampire's Tribal, and it's a super fun build. I loved it. And but let's talk about where else we can take this, and or just some of the cards we didn't talk about during the main episode.
Sure. So in case you haven't watched the deck tech, I recommend watching it. It's a fun brew. But if you haven't, Felisa is a 2-white-black legendary vampire wizard, 3/2 flying mentor. And whenever a non-token creature you control dies, if it has counters on it, you get a 2/1 flying inkling for each counter on that creature when it died. And obviously the first way to go is just your basic counter deck. The inklings come in. Cathar's Crusade is something we definitely want in any Felisa deck. I would argue that no matter what variety, you're expecting to make a bunch of inklings. So Cathar's Crusade should be an auto include. It's $5 or $6 these days. It's not bad. It's been more expensive.
True.
And if you don't mind the unusual accounting of it, I say run it.
Or the unusual Cathar's Crusade, which is actually what it is.
Yeah.
It's just a weird way to say it, but yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't mind that, include it, because obviously incredible card.
So the first full new idea for a brew, we had one foot in it with vampires, but you could just go flying tribal. There's lots of cool cards that love flyers and help with flyers. For example, a perfect card would be Obzon Falconer. 2 and a white for a human soldier with Outlast, 2/3. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying. It might even be a little bit redundant because I suspect that most of our team would end up would have flying if we brewed it this way anyway. But there's even some other cool cards. What are some of these other cool cards for a flying tribal deck?
Kanji's Lieutenant seems neat. 2 and a white for a 1/1 bird with flying, obviously. Whenever it attacking creatures with flying get +1/+1 until end of turn. And then you can encore this card for 5 and a white, which is you exile it and you make, for each opponent, you make a token copy, and then they gain haste and they attack, and then you lose them.
And then that would mean that each flyer gets +3/+3
That's
if
right.
you had 3 opponents. Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
That's a nice little anthem.
And then what you would definitely fit in Archon of Redemption, 3 white for a 3/4 flying Archon. Whenever this or another creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain life equal to that creature's power. So if this is around and we sack a few creatures and get a ton of inklings, we can just get, 10, 12, 18 extra life off of that.
I feel like you could do some real classic Orzhov stuff with Archon of Redemption as like a linchpin card in a Felisa deck. You know what I mean? Like, doing all the things that Felisa does, then getting all those inklings, and then triggering all that life gain and weaponizing that life gain is very easy for Orzhov to do. So that would be that would be something to see. That'd be a good one.
I mean, and then I gave a little hint in the episode because all of Felisa's inklings come into play tapped. Right. I didn't put it in the notes, but there's that instant that untaps all your creatures and all of your flyers get +2/+2 until end of turn. Right. So it's a 2-mana instant that's a huge, like, kind of a flying overrun for your team.
Yeah, I remember this card. Yeah.
But it's also a nice way to just be like, oh, all my stuff came in and tapped. I guess you can attack with everybody. Oh, surprise. They're also way bigger and they're untapped now. So, like, I'll just eat your team. Yeah.
I love this next category because I could have easily called it because it recently happened to me. And you know what? I think there's just something about Commander players and how we always just want to make modular work whenever we see a commander that cares about puzzle counters. It's just natural, right? Because they're so good. And it makes a lot of sense. So modular counters deck with Arcbound Overseer, which is the big 8-mana one. Enters with 6. It's modular 6. So the way the modular works, if you're somehow unfamiliar with it, they enter with this amount of counters, and then when they die, or when it's put in a graveyard, it says, but when it dies, you can put its +1/+1 counters on another artifact creature. So you just load up on artifact creatures, and the sacrificing works incredibly well with Felisa this way. We're moving counters around. You don't even need the Ozolith. It's just great.
Yeah, and I think it would be cool to put to have Felisa be like an Orzhov artifact creature based deck.
I love it.
Like the modular is the easy way to go, and there's maybe not enough modular for that to be your entire creature suite. But we've got so many ways to put counters on things, and there's so many artifacts that act as ramp. There's artifacts that act as card draw. There's artifacts that that can like destroy things by sacrificing them. So like we can do everything a deck needs to do with artifact creatures, which would be a super cool way to like just pilot a Felisa deck, just the leader of robots. I think that'd be neat.
Yeah, it's like if they just made a few more modular creatures, we don't even need that many. Like give me like 10 more in like a Modern Horizons set, or like some kind of a commander set or something. We don't need a ton. I don't need like 30 of them. Give me like between 5 and 10 more, and I think you'd see that deck pop up a lot more.
Totally. I mean, if we do decide to go the artifact way, I'm putting Steel Overseer in there. So this is a repeatable way to get more Inkling fuel on my whole team. I'm putting Stone Coil Serpent in there. I mean, Stone Coil Serpent probably belongs in the Felisa deck just
anyways,
natural,
right? Yeah,
because you could. It's an artifact creature. It's also protection from multicolor, which is like, I underestimate that, but like that will stonewall many opposing commanders.
Yes,
like,
it will. Yeah.
Very few commanders go through, but like it already enters with a ton of +1/+1 counters. Not to mention the ones you add. It has modular other ones.
It also has reach and protection from multicolored. So like, no commander is getting through a Stone Coil Serpent, a big enough one anyways.
Yeah, not unless it's like
that's wicked.
Krenko or something.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But Krenko doesn't care. He's going to get a billion goblins through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the life gain theme, right? Like where you just lean harder on life gain.
I mean, we didn't talk about it, but you heard us talk about Sunscorch Regent getting a life every time an opponent casts a spell and a +1/+1 counter. If you listen to the episode, you also would have noticed we talked about Archangel of Thune, which should go in the life gain version. It's the perfect synergy. Whenever you gain life, your whole team gets counters. It is a bit of a pricey card.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's another pricey card that I think would go great in the life gain version.
I mean, I mentioned it too. Karlov of the Ghost Council. It's just the synergy is real here between Orzhov cards, right? The Karlov is just so good. Every instance of life gain, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on them. So really good with Felisa. Going to be gaining, if you had this like life gain thing going, gain a ton of counters on him. He becomes just a force in and of himself. Only 2 mana to cast this guy, which is pretty great, because all you need is 6 counters on him. That's 3 instances of life gain. And then you can just pay white-black and just exile target creature, which is a very powerful ability.
Very powerful. Yeah. I mean, each of these cards are like between $25 and $30. So if this is how the life gain Felisa deck is going, we're putting Bazaar of Baghdad in, and
we're going really nuts.
Let's put Imperial Seal in it. I mean, if that's how you can afford to lose the 2 life of Imperial Seal, and if you're putting Karlov and Archangel, you can also afford the $600.
Right. We're just assuming that you are Post Malone, and you are you got all these cards in your Gucci suitcase, and you're good to go.
Yeah. Oh man,
it's funny that we haven't even talked about that on the show yet. Maybe next week. But anyways, lots of fun ways to go with this deck. Felisa, a very I gotta say, I'm gonna say it next week when it's the commander that I did, but I think I've even already said it. For some reason, I was a little underwhelmed by these commanders when I first saw them, but now you see the decks and you're like, wait, these are great. These are so fun. And they are. And the Felisa doesn't disappoint. This is a great Great deck, great commander.
Does not disappoint. Yeah, stay tuned next time. We'll come back for another Lost Cards. And, let us know in the comments if you have another way to brew Felisa. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. What other Felisa Fang of Silverquill decks are there? Let us know. But we will see everyone back here again next week with a brand new deck and a new Lost Cards. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.